Hi guys, my name's Tom. I was in a porn addiction for about 9 years and I've managed to get out of that and fully rewired my brain so that I honestly don't even think about porn anymore. I don't have any of that self-deprecation. I don't have any of that lack of self-trust. I don't have any of that lack of confidence. I don't have any of that shame. I don't have any of that those feelings where you're like, what's wrong with me? Like, am I ever gonna get out of this? Like, all of that's gone. It's like in the past, it's done. Like, I remember being in a bad way with all of this, like to the extent I was like journaling every day, talking about how bad it was, writing down in my journal, don't watch porn, and then just putting like a cross every day. Like, I'd go to bed just thinking like, maybe tomorrow I'll start again. Tomorrow will be a fresh start. Day one of nofap, let's go. These nofap streaks are just crazy. We're so far away from the present moment and actually rewiring the brain correctly. But anyway, I'm not here to just put you down in a bad mood or anything like that. What I want to do is just share something that I think is really important. A lot of people think they've got low confidence, low self-esteem, they're feeling shame, they're feeling like they're not good enough in life in one way or another. And very rarely do people actually associate that with their addiction, because we now have a society where it's just normal. It's just normal to waste a lot of your day scrolling. It's just normal to watch porn. It's normal to overeat. It's normal to be fat. It's normal to be a lot of things which really are just a symptom of being in an addiction. But people are misdiagnosing these problems. So now we have terms like ADHD. And don't get me wrong, there's people with ADHD, there's no doubt about it. But I'd imagine a lot of people with ADHD actually have unresolved addictions. Now we have terms like depression and anxiety. And again, most of the clients I work with at some point feel depressed. They feel anxious. I know I did. I was in this porn addiction for about 9 or 10 years. I know I felt very depressed at times. I felt very lonely. I felt very anxious. I felt like my brain was whizzing around at a million miles an hour because I was watching this overstimulating content, because I was always scrolling. And yet people were diagnosing themselves and diagnosing others with these diseases or these things that really take on an identity in that person's life. But it's really detrimental, because then what happens is these self-limiting beliefs that they already have, which is usually part of the addiction, then just build up even further. And then you get into this fixed mindset where really from a fixed mindset, it's going to be very hard to get out of an addiction, because then it's like, well, there's just something wrong with me. I'm inherently flawed, and it's all about your ego and this identity and who you intrinsically are, rather than just having neural pathways that have been wired in a certain way, because really your brain's just a byproduct of your surroundings and the life that you've been brought up in, really. If you if you grow up in a world where porn's the norm and it's on your TV and it's in the music videos, it's in everywhere, it's everywhere, and it's just a normal thing. Most of us guys, we start watching porn super young. I was 12 years old, a lot of the guys I work with even younger, and we have no idea how harmful porn's going to be, but we watch it. We're just this innocent kids, watching porn, excited, oh, what's this? The first time we're ever looking at this content, and it stimulates our brain. And then, maybe we start masturbating, and then we're orgasming and creating this new neural pathway in our brain, which associates orgasm, which is this huge evolutionary reward. We're associating that now with a screen. And so then our brain wires in a certain way. And then we have this unlimited access to the orgasm and the screen and the porn. And then our brain just develops this psychological, emotional dependency on a mind, mood altering experience. And the brain rewires. The brain wires to actually crave porn. And, there's a really good book. I'm sure I've got it somewhere here. One moment. I'm just going to wheel myself backwards. That was so cringy. Why did I do that? Have I got it here? Oh my God, I've wheeled myself backwards for nothing, have I? Oh, here we go. Bloody hell. It's a bit harder than I wanted. That's what she said. Anyway, The Brain That Changes Itself, Norman Deutsch. So yeah, really good book. It's about how the brain wires itself. These neural pathways get developed, and yeah, it's a good book. But my point of this video really is there's nothing wrong with you if you've got a porn addiction, but there is something wrong with your approach to changing those neural pathways, because Unfortunately, chances are, if you're watching this video, unless you're inside of our program, chances are most people are trying things that aren't actually working because they're not getting you into that neural pathway of compulsive desire. Like, there's a part of your brain right now that wants to watch porn, but the rest of the world is going to tell you on some level to try and escape, resist, avoid, distract, substitute. So then what you do, a lot of people, what they do is they end up like just replacing porn with like food and overeating, and then they're scrolling, they're playing video games. They just swap out one addiction for another because they think their problem is to do with sexual desire when actually it's to do with compulsive desire. And compulsive desire is a bit like a tree that has all these roots, and then the branches are like things like porn, and that may be like the biggest branch that you want to get rid of. But then on this tree of compulsive desire, there's these other branches, and you may have like high fat, high sugary food, or just like overeating in general. Or there could be video games, or it could be social media, it could be prostitutes for some people, it could be making loads of money, it could be, success, like addicted to that, it could be relationships, it could be gambling, it could be a plethora of different things. But the thing is, it's compulsive desire, it's the root that we need to deal with. But you go off to a therapist and they'll go, oh yeah, there's a root of the problem, but they're going to try and like diagnose you some random shit that's nothing to do with the actual problem, which is compulsive desire. And so what am I on about? Compulsive desire, eh? What do I really mean when I say that? Well, essentially it's that moment where, I don't know, let's say you've had a long day at work and you're feeling a bit stressed out, a bit tired, and all you want is like to just escape those feelings. And then your brain, the addicted part of the mind, because this is compulsive desire, this is a good example, is the addicted part of the mind says, oh, you've had a long day, it's been really stressful, you need to release now, you need to watch porn, you need to just get away and then start again tomorrow. It's those thoughts. How do you actually change those thoughts? How do you deal with those thoughts? How do you assertively correct and transform those thoughts? How do you actually deal with that discomfort in that moment when all you want to do is watch porn? And it's not about meditation. It's not about sort of substituting it out and going and eating loads of food. It's not about taking a walk. It's not about going to the gym. It's not about reading loads of different books. I mean, even this book isn't actually going to help you rewire your brain. It's just going to give you a bit of information on neuroplasticity. What it's about is how do you actually think through that choice? And so this is why what I'd recommend to anyone watching this is to actually write some stuff down that's going to prepare you for that moment. Because in that moment, that your brain becomes seemingly irrational and you end up doing dumb shit, which you don't actually really want to do, right? So it's about how do you actually prepare for those moments and get strategic, outsmart the addicted part of your mind ahead of time rather than trying to deal with it in that moment. And that's why everything we work on is about actually building a comprehensive education, like retraining the brain to believe different things so that you actually have new thought patterns that correct the old ones, and using a very specific 5-fact script, like one piece of paper that you read through every single time you have an urge, and in that moment it's going to correct all of the bullshit coming from the irrational addicted part of the mind. So this is what I mean, is you want to be prepared, you want to have a strategy, you want to actually know exactly what to do any moment you have an urge. And then we don't want to just wait around and sit back and be reactive. Instead, we want to start actually using this tool that we have, proactively attacking and transforming these neural pathways for ourselves. The more you can think through the choice, the more you can think through this decision, the better, because you can either learn by doing and experience the relapse and go around in circles for decades, or you can actually think it through without acting on the desire, because there's never going to be a situation in your life where you're forced into doing something that you want to stop doing. So the choice is completely yours. You get to be the leader of your own life. You get to make choices you're proud of moment by moment. But if you continue going down the same route that everyone else is going to teach you, which is really about avoiding the desire on some level, then it's going to be a very, very, very difficult time. It's going to be almost impossible to actually overcome this. You may well do streaks. You may well do months and months without porn. But will you ever actually get truly free? Will you ever get to the position where you can genuinely just feel like you're completely in control of yourself and you have no worries, and you're literally just like, yeah, you could put me in any situation ever, like the most challenging circumstances imaginable, and I know with 100% clarity I will not watch porn. And going even further on that, I hate saying the word I will not do something. Instead, in that moment, what you would do is you would choose to rewire your brain, because every single time you're faced with that discomfort, you actually have an opportunity to rewire the brain correctly, instead of choosing to strengthen the old addicting neural pathways and go further into the addiction. Hopefully this YouTube video helps someone. Cheers guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.